navigating the world of broadcast news. Gasia, anchor in the mornings. Mike, anchor in the nights. At one point, we actually did anchor together, but we are raising a couple families together right now in the San Francisco Bay Area. Gasia, what's going on?
It's a busy week. It's been a busy morning. We just had the big address by President Trump last night. So there's a lot of digesting of that. I know that's some of what you guys did late at night last night. Rain is a little bit of a factor. So maybe you might get rained on as you're coming in as and I'm leaving. Can I ask you though from last
Go.
week? You talked about there were like deep, heavy discussions in your household about whether or not to go see Kenny Chesney, I think in like Las Vegas or something. Was that ever resolved?
No, that was not resolved. It's an ongoing dispute, or maybe dispute's the wrong word. It's an open conversation, and I want to say it's top of the list, but it's not. Some other things have popped up in the household, so we're navigating through those issues. Just classic kid stuff.
Yeah.
But no, but I'm pushing for it. I think we're both pushing for it, but I think because it's so far off, not that far, I guess, 3 months. We just haven't pulled the trigger on the trip yet. So
It would be a quick trip, right? If it's just the two of you.
yeah, it's just like 2 days, but like, I have friends of mine who like, hey, can we go here with you in November? And I'm like, dude, like that's not how that my wife and I roll. We're like, if you want to ask me if we're going to do something next week, yeah, we'll jump on a plane and go. Like we're very much like that. It's hard for us to plan so far out. I'm not sure about you guys.
Yeah, well, probably like you, I feel like our weekends are already spoken for between I have two sons between their sports. So like we have a doubleheader, baseball, home opener on Saturday. Like so that's my whole Saturday. Sunday is all mountain bike riding. So it's really hard. Like remember back when we were like, what should we do this weekend? Those days are over. It's like they're already spoken for long before we even come up on them.
Hey, you know what? Since we're talking about road trips here, we have a guest on Off the Mic today, the great Greg Lee, who I feel like can report on anything at KTVU. And we're going to dive in a little bit about working on the road, right? So I've done it many and many of times, and I've slept in cars. I've slept in crappy hotels. I have not slept on some road trips. Because he just came back from LA County and he covered the wildfires down there. So I want to pick his brain a little bit. So he's going to join us here in a couple minutes. But right off the top of your head, Gasia, were you a fan of reporting on the road?
It's interesting. I actually haven't done too much of it because I've been inside. I've been anchoring for so long here. The most recent time, I hate to say it, was like 10 years ago for like what we call a major work trip. They asked me to go and cover the Super Bowl the year before it came to the Bay Area. And so they were like at
New York, right? Or Jersey?
Wait, for what?
It was in New York. Didn't you go
Yeah,
back
it was
east?
in New York. Like the actual game was in New Jersey. I was anchoring the 5 and 7 p.m. newscast at the time, and the news director said, "Hey, we'd love for you to go to New York for a week." At that time, the Super Bowl was on Fox, and he's like, "We just kind of show all the Bay Area people there." The Niners weren't in it; they missed it by not too much. And it's funny because when I was asked to go for a whole week to New York and like the weather was cold, my first thought was like, "Can I leave my family?" At that time, I had two toddler boys. And I was like, they can't be without their mother for a whole week. And so I went home and like, this is familiar to you. I talked with my husband, right? And I said, I don't know, they want me to do this opportunity and I'm kind of nervous. And the other thing is that oh gosh, Greg Lee, hey, let me finish like I'm telling my Super Bowl work travel story. You have a whole other work travel story we'll get to. But anyway, long story short, I talked with my husband and he looked at me and he was like, of course you should go. And the most compelling argument he had for me to do this work trip, number one, was like, he's like, I've got this covered. He can handle the boys. That's not a problem. Number two, he said, at this point in your career, there isn't much you haven't done, right? Like, the three of us here, we've been doing it for
I get it.
20 plus years. And so as soon as he said that, I thought, oh my gosh, opportunity with a capital O. I came back to the news director the next day and I said, you bet, send me. And it turned out to be an amazing trip and totally different than the one Greg Lee is going to talk to us about now, covering the fires in LA. Hey, Greg.
Hello, good morning.
Hey, thanks for joining us, buddy.
What's up, Mikey?
We were talking about road trips, and I remember you just came back from LA County covering the fires.
Yeah.
Right off the top, though, when a boss taps you and says, hey, man, we need you to pack up and go, do you debate it, or do you just go, all right, whatever you want?
No, I will tell you that I've probably been in my career 8 or 9 work trips where you actually travel for the company. And unfortunately, most of them are natural disasters, though there have been a few fun, positive story ones. But yeah, I mean, I think part of this gig is that you be willing to jump and you'd be willing to go. And fortunately, I'm in a situation where I've got a partner that supports that, and I've got a situation where I can kind of drop everything and get out the door, and that's often the case, right? Especially for the disaster. It's like, hey, can you go tomorrow, pack a bag, and say, yeah, let's do it. And there's
You go
something,
tonight sometimes.
yeah, and can you go in a couple hours? And there's something inherently exciting about that, albeit, respectfully, that sometimes it's really a terrible situation, like being able to take our viewers there and being able to be trusted with that kind of responsibility is a good one.
Yeah. And in this case, for you, it was a natural fit because you worked in Southern California before coming to KTVU several years ago.
Yeah, and I will tell you there was a lot of emotions for me in that vein because I went to Pepperdine, I spent time in Pacific Palisades, obviously knew Malibu, so driving through some of those places that were just devastated by the fires, driving past some of the bars that I had been to in college that had burned to the ground. I mean, that was really tough to see, and obviously knowing people that had been directly impacted by losing their homes or seeing their homes damaged or evacuated, it was pretty startling. But yeah, it was a natural fit, and I was sort of grateful to get the opportunity to be embedded in a community where I knew people and I could find stories to tell.
I think sometimes for viewers, when they see us, in my interaction with them afterwards, like, wow, that was great. I saw you down there or over there. It must have been a great time, right? Must have had fun. And what they don't realize, I think, Greg, if you could touch on it, is they think we're working, 6, 8 hours, and then we're done, go to the hotel swimming pool. These days are 16-hour days.
Yeah.
You can barely, in some cases, because like you said, a lot of them are natural disasters, can find food, let alone a bathroom. I mean, explain this particular trip, your day, and just how long of a day and grueling it is physically and mentally.
Yeah, it's a grind, man. I mean, I appreciate you saying that. These trips are hard, no matter what the subject matter is, whether it's something like a fire, natural disaster, or something positive like the Rickwood game that we did in Birmingham. But for the fire, I mean, even though we were working a night shift, I was up at 9 in the morning watching the news, making sure that I was making calls and setting up stories and everything that we did. And this was unique to this trip. Everything we did on this trip, though we were helping our sister station, was enterprise. Everything we did was us finding stories and locking down interviews and setting things up. So, especially when you're in a place that you don't cover every day, and again, I had the advantage of having been there before, but especially when you're a place that you're not every day, you really got to grind and figure out how you're going to do the stories and do them justice. Needless to say, navigating a new traffic pattern as well. I mean, you got to work into the fact that you're dealing with LA traffic, and that was something that I had forgotten about, and something we quickly realized. 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon took us 3.5 hours to get to Altadena from where we were staying.
How was it for you working in, and I know you weren't in the newsroom down in Los Angeles, but working with the different newsroom, like, up here, we've all worked together for so long,
Yeah.
we're like on a nickname basis. We know
Yeah.
exactly how the other person works, but you were in essence working with other Los Angeles crews and you were the new guy. What was it hard? Did you slip in, easily? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, and I will tell you, Gasia, we did go into the newsroom every day for the news meeting because it was important to me to actually put a face to a name and to know how they work, who I was working with. And for me, it was a bit awkward in the beginning because that was my competition for the longest time working down there. And so every day I got it started my day, I'm like, oh, we're gonna beat the heck out of Fox 11 today.
Yeah.
And so
So
all of
you
a
still
sudden I
feel
was like,
that? You felt that when you walked
oh
in?
my gosh, yes, you feel that a little bit. And it's funny because one of the folks in there looked at me and was like, did weren't you
Yeah.
weren't you at ABC? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah. What are you doing
Um,
here? Get out.
yeah,
What are you
so
doing?
get out. So big family though. And but every station does stuff differently. The way that a newsroom functions and sort of the SOPs are different. And so that took some time for me to get used to of, oh, my only contact, at least for this station, was with my writer on the night, because normally I'd call the producer, normally I'd check in with my EP. They're like, no, 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 don't waste our time. You talk to your writer. So that first day, I was very clearly over communicating because my writer called me and said, listen, you just
Back
you and
off
me,
a little.
you and me, we're good. And I was like, oh, good to know. But yeah, I mean, there's certainly like an adjustment, and maybe not to the scale, but I like to liken it to you're a guy that's just traded to you're Jimmy Butler, and you just get traded to the Warriors, and all of a sudden it's a bunch of guys that you kind of know, but like you don't really know what the dynamics are, and you don't want
Yeah.
to step on anyone's toes.
I remember in 2014, I went to Kansas City for the World Series, Giants and Royals for a few days, and was running and gunning so much, working nonstop, and finally got the phone call, said, Mike, just put it down. You're done for the night. Go enjoy the game. So obviously I had the credentials. So I went to the game and we're sitting in the press box, which is massive during a World Series because you have hundreds of press from around the world. And there was this, I can't remember the identical play, but the Giants had a great play. And the fan in me, I'm like, yeah, you know, and like what you cannot say a word in the press box. And so like 120 people looked at me with that stare going, either get out or shut up, you know? And that was kind of a realization for the first time on the road trip that you can't cheer in a press box, albeit I'd been in the business already for 15 years. On that note, for that trip, the thing that bugs me about this is money, because they could have easily, the companies are just not spending money like they used to, but they want great things.
Yeah.
So they could have easily had a nonstop flight, but instead, my photographer and I went to Salt Lake City, into Kansas City. On the way home, the first hotel was like, I mean, it was 40 minutes away with Beatles in it. And then the next hotel, they're like, go to another hotel, which was nicer. And then on the way home, we couldn't even fly out of Kansas City. We had to go to Springfield, Missouri in a rental car, down to Dallas, and then back home. Sometimes I realize, like, look, it's an honor to do it, but I don't think we do it as much because there's just not as much money in the business as there was, unfortunately, 25 years ago.
Yeah, that's right. And sometimes you look at these itineraries and you sort of scratch your head and you're like, who put this together? Who put me on a 5-hour layover in Houston? And you know, when I want to get to where I'm going, and you know, that's a stressor for our photographers too, because they're carrying a bunch of gear and they're so stressed out about, is their stuff going to get there in one piece? Because if you lose anything, you're toast. I did a trip for my old station covering a hurricane in North Carolina. Our editing laptop broke. I mean, it broke into 2 pieces on the flight over there. And we were supposed to be, you know, all encompassing. They expect you to be self-operable. And so we had to scrounge to find new gear. But yeah, I hear you, Mike. I think if it were up to us, we would travel a lot and the industry would be open to doing those things. But I don't have to tell you guys that certainly the budget for those things have been taken way back over the years.
But I still think the viewers like it. And maybe I'm wrong, Gasia, but like they like seeing us like pop in down here to Southern California or a wildfire in Colorado. Maybe not. I don't know.
Well, I go ahead, Gasia.
Well, I mean, I was gonna say, but for sure, I think so. Like, I had people come up to me and they're like, "Oh, hey, I saw you guys sent Greg to the fires." Like, viewers, because it's out of the norm, right? We're used to seeing Greg like in studio or here in the Bay Area, so I think viewers get it that it's, you know, big and special. So for sure, I think I get great feedback. I mean, I just think it's, you know, I remember back, Mike, when you and I started, I think Hurricane Katrina had just happened in New Orleans, and I remember there was debate about should we send a crew or not. And
oh yeah, Ken Wayne went with Tony Hodrick.
yeah, I think he went for Harvey, which was more recently. But you know, when you and I started 20 years ago, we were in a newsroom full of, like, and I use this term affectionately, old guys and old gals who'd already been here for 20 years. And they were like, we went to Kosovo, we went to Romania, and like we did bonkers travel at KTVU back in the 80s. It was just, I mean, continuous international travel to get the big stories, right? And so that's not something that I had ever really had experience, and to hear it from, you know, from those reporters was really eye-opening. And then, you know, to look at where we are now, yeah, it's a big change, but man, it's getting expensive. So, I mean, I'll tell you, I felt bad expensing like a Starbucks, right? I don't know. It's because I'm not.
Why do you feel bad about that?
Because if I was at home, would I have gotten that Starbucks at 2 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon? Probably not. But my photographer was like, I'm going to get a Starbucks. Do you want one? And I was like, no, thank you. Then he's like, are you sure? And I was like, oh, maybe I will. And I mean, it was like $4. I felt bad for that. So yeah, I don't know. That's just me. That's just
I will tell you the way so I travel often with the same guy from here, one of our top photographers, and we have this rule that like we always make sure we have one good meal. It's usually the night we fly in because we're not working right away.
No, I like that.
Because you got to set yourself up, because the rest of the week or the rest of the days you're going to be there is going to be a grind. And you know, we're not exploiting the system, but what we tell ourselves is they are paying for our meals for the fact that we've dropped everything in our lives to go for them. And so one good steak dinner is always on the docket for us, no matter where we're
Do you have
going.
like a separate check on the side, like on personal check? Are there two checks going? There's company check and there's other check.
If we're running up a bill, which I will gladly say I've not done. I will tell you when we're in LA, obviously the money doesn't go as far, and so we're really counting our chickens here. But when we were in Birmingham, man, I will tell both of you, we were trying to get to a number, but like
Yeah.
steak. I mean, we were doing well, and then the bill came out and it was like $60, and I looked at him, I was like, how is this possible?
See, that Birmingham stuff, by the way, Greg, was phenomenal.
Thanks,
Yeah.
brother.
How
I
was how was
appreciate
it, real quick? I know you got to run, but
No, you're good.
coming home from something like that, because for me, when I'm on the road, you don't think about it. You're just working, right? And then
Yeah.
the emotional aspect of what you actually did and saw
Mhm.
doesn't hit me until I get home, and it's mentally draining, and you really have to. I have to decompress for a good
Yeah.
24, 36 hours. Is it the same for you?
You know, it's so funny you say that. When we were in Birmingham, I was just like in awe of everything, of the history, of the viewership. And one note back to what Gasia had said, we had people coming up to us that had traveled to that game from the Bay that were Giants fans. And they were like, oh my God, we are so happy to see KTVU here covering this moment. And so it was euphoric for us for like, we were only there for 60 hours. I mean, it was quick.
Oh, wow.
And I think we were on air for 40 of those hours.
Yeah.
But to your point, Mike, we got on the airplane and I'm just so tired, but so thrilled about what we had just done and what we had been able to cover. I looked at my phone. I had not taken one single photo on the field. And I
Oh
was
no.
kicking myself because I was like, how did I not take a photo of my photographer and me on the field? One of my best friends that I started in this business with was covering the game too for another station in town. And I was like, how do we not have a photo together to be like, we started in this business when we were 21 years old and look at us now traveling, and we didn't have that either. So yeah, you're in such a mode when you're in it that you don't have a moment to really decompress. But you know, the fortunate thing is I have those memories in my head of one
Yeah.
of really the coolest assignments I've ever gotten in this industry.
Yeah. Well, you're a champion. We love working with you, and we appreciate you being a guest on Off the Mic today. What are you doing? What are you doing today? Do you know?
We're putting together some stuff for the Oakland mayoral debate. I got another project I'm working on the side, and then you know, balls in the air, as they say, just like the two of you.
Yeah.
All right. Drinks on me next time.
Done.
All right. See you, Greg.
See you guys. Take care.
Yeah.
Good
So I know
dude, Gasia.
he has
That's
to
a
go.
good
Can I
dude.
tell one of my favorite Greg Lee stories? And I think it was during a noon newscast, probably one that you and I were anchoring together several years ago. He was relatively new. He'd come here as a political reporter. And like, you know how I don't even know what president it was. The president is town. He is landing at SFO and he's gonna take the motorcade. And like it's like ordered down to the minute, right? And so we know what to expect, but sometimes those itineraries are off, like, oh, the president's running late, or oh, the motorcade stopped at the home of chicken and waffles, or whatever, right? And so it was during a new newscast. Greg Lee was kind of tracking the president's visit from inside the newsroom because we've got, you know, live cameras and whatever. And so he came upstairs and he was supposed to do a story that he had written. And I was like, you know, today the president visits the Bay Area. He's talking about high tech, opening up a new center for bioscience, whatever, right? So he's kind of written out a story. He had a soundbite that he was going to use from someone at the center he was going to visit, whatever. So the president was running behind, and Greg Lee comes up, and we're in a commercial break. And in the commercial break, he's monitoring the live feed of the president. Like we have a camera inside the room where the president's supposed to be speaking, and he's like, you know, the president should have been talking by now. He's not talking, so I'll just go forward with my pre-written story. And then, like, right before we come out of the commercial break, president steps up to the mic and starts talking. And I watched as Greg Lee talk to the producers, like, hey, okay, producer, here's the deal. Drop what I wrote. I'm going to say a quick intro. When I call for it, pull up the live picture of the president speaking inside, you know, whatever, ABC Industries. We'll listen to the president for a second. And then coming out of that, I'll wrap up by saying where he's going next. And I just remember looking at him, and he's like, you know, maybe 12 feet away from us, like kind of at the plasma in the kind of the corner of the studio. And I remember looking at him and I'm going, this man is making television news in front of our eyes. And it was such a good example of how best laid plans, but when news is happening, you throw that script away. And Greg had, you know, the knowledge, the insight, the ability to be like, hey, let's just do it live. And it was, at this point, it was several years ago, but I think about that all the time. And I remember I went downstairs and I talked with our news director, and I was like, and I reenacted it for her, right? And I was like, and it was amazing. And she goes, yeah, she's like, that's what we should be doing. And I was like,
Yeah.
yes. So I'm always inspired by Greg Lee. I'll never forget that, even though he's gone on to do so many great things here. But I remember that like it was yesterday.
Take control of the situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, take control of the situation. Don't let anyone, like I always, over the years of like, I'm going to take control of it. I know what it's going to be. I'm not going to let someone do this or wait for someone to tell me to do this or debate, should we do this in moments like that.
Yeah.
You know, it brings up, I mean, not to go back to the road trips, but I flew down to Palm Springs for a wildfire where firefighters had died.
Yeah.
And we got there late with Randy Deason and they wanted a package. And it was like, no, this isn't. I'm like, let's just go live. Like, just have Dennis ask me 5 minutes of Q&A. I don't care what he asked me, but we're at the scene making decisions like that. And like, I think that, you know, I mean, it's just what we do. I mean, that's what, I'm not tapping my shine, but that's what good reporters do. Like, you take control of a situation, just like Greg did in that fine example you just gave. All right, what are you doing next? You're at work. I'm not there yet.
I am at work. I feel like Greg's like behind me in the newsroom. I have to head out. We're coming up pretty quick here on the new newscast. Can I ask you, like, this is more of a parent question.
Yeah, we're parents. Go ahead, ask me.
I'm struggling. So number one,
just ground them.
My freshman son, my little one, made the freshman baseball team.
Awesome.
Then again, so did everyone who tried out. But still,
doesn't matter. He's on the team.
Mike, I had no idea baseball equipment was so expensive. I am struggling with like, I mean, I don't know, like if your kids' eyes have been open, but like, you know, they're looking at stuff online. Back when I played sports, it was like, oh, let's go to Kmart and get you, you know, whatever, right? Like,
it's not Sandlot anymore. It's not the old rag and the old wooden bat.
It is bonkers what they want. And we were at Dick's. I'm sure you've been at Dick's Sporting Goods. So we went to Dick's Sporting Goods and he pointed out some bat that like cost my whole paycheck when I started doing this. And he's like, oh, that's what all the kids on the team have. And I was like, mind blown. So if you have advice for me to, you know, like how to tackle this, like, I mean, we can give him some of what he wants, but not all of it. And just kind of the principle of like, do you really need a wildly expensive bat and glove and catcher's kit? And like, how do I deal? I think you're deeper into this than I am because it is all new to me.
I always grab the chips and I put them all into the pot, you know, not to use the poker reference, but I'm all in with my kids, you know.
So you buy him the bat and the glove and the catcher's kit and the turfs and all that stuff.
Not all of them, but I have done it with the bat. The gloves there are plenty of good gloves. You don't need to go top end glove at age 14 or 15. But yeah, you know, I give them the tools in order to compete. Saying that, you also need to work, my young man. And so he umpires games during the season for the little guys and he gets $40 a game.
Yeah.
So I'll do this and I'll support you and we'll do that because I want them to succeed in life, but I also want to show them it's not for free. So, you know, but saying that, I've done with my daughter, who obviously is 12 and she's not working, but she plays softball and I've also bought her equipment, but I've also had to sit down and explain, look, man, this isn't going to happen. And, you know, this, you know, how do we get to this point? So it's a little bit of a balance, but yeah, for the most part, I'm in.
Well, that's good. I mean, I'll keep it in mind the next time we're arguing.
Just do it, Gasia. Baseball season's here. It's spring training. Let's go. You're already probably playing games.
Can I tell you what I tell myself to like make myself feel better whenever I like see the bill from Dick's Sporting Goods or whatever? I tell myself, I am so fortunate to have a son who is healthy, who has an active interest in a sport, like, because I've heard parents is like, oh, I wish my kid would play sports. Oh, I wish my kid would get off the phone. I wish my kid would whatever. And I'm like, wow. So here I have a kid who's super into baseball, who would like eat it, drink it, sleep with it if he could. And so I tell myself that I need to feed that passion of his, even as painful it is for me. So the coach, they set up this whole list of like, forget the gear, like the clothes they have to wear, the baseball pants and whatever. And so the pants are like way more expensive than like the regular baseball pants he's been using. And so I said, fine. And I jokingly said, you're going to wear these pants all 4 years. Mike, they are so tight right now. They are like, he's going to outgrow.
Don't embarrass the kid. Get the new pants. Mike, do I need to cross the bridge and come over there and go to Dick's with you?
I think you might.
I think I may. So. By the way, I'm going to plug my daughter's flag football team. Flag football is hot. It's a great sport. I love seeing the girls out there playing it, although she actually played with all the big boys. So
Oh.
flag football is a thing, and I'm into it. It was a good season this year. She has one more game left, but it was a good season. It's fun to watch. It's fun to watch youth sports. I'm always a
Yeah.
big fan and big proponent. All right, good pod. With that, as I always say, my good friend Jerry Garcia would often sing. Sometimes you get shown the light in the strangest of places if you look at it right. We'll see you around.
Yeah.